In the peaceful town of Modesto, California, where neighbors exchanged friendly waves and children played freely in the streets, a sinister and chilling tale unfolded. A seemingly ordinary man, whose life appeared to be a picture-perfect portrait of happiness, would soon reveal the darkness that loitered beneath the surface. Hi guys, and welcome back to Crimeco, where we break down some of the most gruesome true crime cases from all over the world, giving you the most up-to-date detailed information. If that sounds like something you are interested in, be sure to subscribe and don't forget to give this video a like. A like from you really helps the channel. Thank you. Now let's dive in. Scot Peterson was born on October 24, 1971, in San Diego, California. His parents, Lee and Jackie Peterson, raised him in a middle-class family. He grew up alongside his siblings, and for the most part, his childhood seemed typical. There were no glaring signs that he would one day become entangled in such a high-profile and tragic case. As a young man, Scot attended local schools and showed an interest in sports, particularly golf. He was known to be sociable and charming, qualities that would later play a role in his relationships with others. After completing high school, Scot enrolled at California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo, where he pursued a degree in agricultural business. It was during his college years that Scot met Lacey Roca. The two fell in love and eventually got married, seemingly starting a bright future together. After graduating from college, Scot worked in the fertilizer industry, and Lacey was pursuing a career in education. On the surface, their lives appeared picture-perfect, but beneath the facade, cracks were forming. As time went on, Scot began to lead a double life. He engaged in extramarital affairs, betraying the trust of his loving wife. The stress of maintaining his affairs, along with financial troubles, weighed heavily on Scot. He was trying to keep up with the image of success, even if it meant living beyond his means. Despite his troubled personal life, Scot projected a composed and charming demeanor to the outside world. Friends and acquaintances had no inkling of the darkness that lay beneath the surface. But as we know, all secrets eventually come to light. The disappearance of Lacey Peterson on Christmas Eve in 2002 stunned everyone who knew her. As the investigation unfolded, the spotlight turned on Scot, and his suspicious behavior only fueled the media frenzy surrounding the case. The discovery of Lacey's body and that of their unborn son, Connor, along the San Francisco Bay added a heartbreaking dimension to the already tragic tale. As the disappearance of Lacey Peterson and her unborn son, Connor, shook the nation, law enforcement agencies worked tirelessly to unravel the mystery surrounding their fate. All eyes were on Scot Peterson, the last person known to have seen Lacey before she vanished. Let's take a closer look at the investigation and the subsequent trial that captured the world's attention. The day after Lacey's disappearance, on Christmas Day 2002, Scot Peterson reported her missing to the police. He claimed that he had left home that morning to go fishing at the Berkeley Marina, leaving Lacey at home. Upon his return, he found the house empty, and Lacey and their dog, Mackenzie, were nowhere to be found. The investigation immediately honed in on Scot as a suspect due to his inconsistent and suspicious behavior. For instance, he initially denied having any affairs but later admitted to them when evidence emerged. He also appeared more concerned about the media attention he was receiving rather than the search for his missing wife. As the search intensified, Scot's affair with Amber Free came to light. Free, a massage therapist from Fresno, had unknowingly been dating Scot, believing him to be single. Her cooperation with the police and her role as a witness in the trial would be crucial in building the case against Scot. On April 13, 2003, the shocking discovery was made when the remains of a female body washed ashore in Richmond, California, along with the body of a male fetus. DNA tests confirmed that the remains were those of Laci Peterson and her unborn son, Connor. On April 18, 2003, Scot Peterson was arrested near a La Jolla golf course in San Diego, carrying a large sum of cash and dyed blonde hair to disguise his appearance. The arrest and subsequent trial became a media sensation, with intense public interest and scrutiny.
Foster County Jail when he arrives.
He'll be charged with capital murder.
Once we heard that Scot had been taken into custody, hundreds of people started to gather around the jail. And by the time he pulled up, it was an incredible scene. There were people yelling, "Murderer, murderer," as he pulled up. He's in the back seat of this unmarked car.
Stay back. Scot! Stay back.
Suddenly, a sleepy, sluggish little town like Modesto is transformed into a media circus.
We will seek justice for her and Connor and make sure that that person responsible for their deaths will be punished.
I think the fact that there has been this much media attention cuts both ways. Where are you going to go to find somebody that hasn't heard about this case? I would hope there's a fair trial wherever it's held.
More people believe that the moon landing was faked than believe that Scot Peterson was innocent. That's what we were up against.
Prosecutors argued that Scot murdered Laci on December 23 or early December 24, 2002, because he was having an affair and did not want to be tied down to a family. They alleged that he strangled her in their home, then drove her body to the San Francisco Bay and dumped it. The defense argued that Laci was abducted by a stranger while she was walking their dog, and that Peterson was innocent. However, the prosecution presented a strong case against Peterson, including Peterson's affair with Amber Free, which he had lied about to Laci. Peterson's purchase of a new fishing boat shortly before Laci's disappearance, which he claimed was for a fishing trip that he never took. Peterson's lack of alibi for the time of Laci's disappearance. Peterson's behavior after Laci's disappearance, which was inconsistent with that of a grieving husband. The exact details of how Scot Peterson killed his wife and unborn son are not known, but the prosecution's theory is the most likely scenario. The trial focused on circumstantial evidence, as there was no direct evidence linking Scot to the murder. The prosecution presented details about Scott's affair with Amber Free and financial troubles as potential motives for the crime. They also pointed to his behavior after Laci's disappearance, which they claimed showed a lack of concern for his missing wife. On the other hand, the defense maintained that there was no concrete evidence linking Scot to the crime, and that the case against him was built on speculation. They argued that there could have been other potential suspects, and the police did not thoroughly explore all leads. The defense argued that Laci was abducted by a stranger while she was walking their dog, and that Peterson was innocent. Ultimately, on November 12, 2004, the jury found Scot Peterson guilty of first-degree murder for killing Laci and second-degree murder for killing Connor. He was sentenced to death and sent to San Quentin State Prison, where he remains on death row. In the aftermath of Scot Peterson's conviction, the case continued to generate public interest and scrutiny. With the death penalty sentence hanging over his head, Peterson's legal team began the arduous process of appealing the verdict and sentence. The aftermath of the trial. Following his conviction, Scot Peterson was incarcerated on death row at San Quentin State Prison. The case had captivated the nation, with many people firmly believing in his guilt, while others maintained his innocence. The media continued to cover every development, and the case remained a hot topic of debate for years to come. In August 2020, the California Supreme Court overturned Scot Peterson's death sentence, ruling that the original trial judge had made a significant error during the jury selection process by dismissing prospective jurors who expressed opposition to the death penalty. As a result, Peterson's death sentence was vacated, and he was resentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. However, the conviction for the murders of Lacey and Connor remained intact. Peterson's legal team did not give up, and they continued to pursue further appeals, hoping to challenge the conviction itself. In January 2021, Scot Peterson's defense filed a petition for a new trial, claiming that juror Richelle Nice had withheld important information during jury selection. The defense alleged that Nice had failed to disclose that she had been involved in prior legal proceedings, including a restraining order involving her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend. They argued that her failure to disclose this information demonstrated juror misconduct. The defense further contended that Nice's alleged bias against Peterson and failure to provide truthful answers during jury selection tainted the entire trial, leading to an unfair conviction. On July 13, 2021, the California Supreme Court unanimously rejected Scot Peterson's bid for a new trial, affirming his 2004 conviction for the murders of Lacey and Connor. The court found that the claims of juror misconduct were not sufficient to overturn the guilty verdict. The court's ruling brought an end to one of the most high-profile and closely watched cases in recent memory. Scot Peterson remains in prison, serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The case of Scot Peterson continues to be a subject of fascination and debate. The tragic loss of Lacey and Connor Peterson deeply impacted their families and the public at large. While the legal process has concluded with Peterson's conviction and life sentence, the case's complexities and uncertainties have left some lingering questions and doubts. As we conclude our journey through this compelling and tragic story, we remember the lives lost and the loved ones left behind. The case of Scot Peterson serves as a somber reminder of the devastating impact of crime and the importance of a fair and thorough legal process. Throughout the appeals process, Scot Peterson's defense team presented various arguments, attempting to highlight potential flaws in the prosecution's case and the validity of the evidence presented at the trial. However, the courts consistently upheld the conviction, concluding that the evidence against Peterson was compelling enough to support the guilty verdict. Despite the extensive media coverage and public interest in the case, the ultimate truth about what happened to Lacey and Connor Peterson on that fateful day in December 2002 may never be fully known. The case serves as a cautionary tale about the complexities of the criminal justice system and the importance of ensuring that due process and fair trials are upheld in all cases. As the years pass, the case of Scot Peterson continues to leave a lasting impact on those who followed it closely and on the families and friends of the victims. It stands as a reminder of the devastating consequences of violent crimes and the profound grief experienced by the loved ones left behind. While the legal battles have concluded, the memory of Lacey and Connor lives on through the efforts of those who seek to keep their story alive and honor their lives. The legacy of this tragic case will undoubtedly endure for years to come, serving as a reminder of the importance of justice, compassion, and the pursuit of truth in the face of adversity. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the case of Scot Peterson. May we remember the victims, seek the truth, and strive for a world where justice prevails. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest true crime cases. We appreciate having you as part of our community as we explore the mysteries that continue to fascinate us all. Stay curious and remember, justice may stay hidden in the darkest corner. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.